New York City's Canyon of Heroes has an echo all its own. The greatest athletes, the greatest moments, they all grace the New York stage. This is the town where legends are written, where history is made, and where games can seem larger than life. But one chapter of New York sports history has vanished without a trace. Across the Harlem River, on a place called Coogan's Bluff, a housing project now stands on what was once the Polo Grounds. This was home to the Giants, Yankees, and Mets. But there is no mention of the New York Titans, who played here from 1960 through 1962.
Somebody said, "Did you play with the Jets all your career?" And I said, "No, I played the first 30 years with the New York Titans, you know." And
we didn't laugh at them. The people laughed at them, the people that knew they were in town, and there weren't many.
I remember the empty stands, and I remember the guys wondering whether they were going to get their checks or not, and whether or not the checks would bounce, or whether they'd be good the next day.
It's kickoff time for National Pro Highlights. And this is your Pro Highlights quarterback, Harry Wismer.
The Titans owner was the colorful sportscaster, Harry Wismer. Wismer dreamed of owning his own team and saw his opportunity in the newly formed American Football League. He hired Sammy Baugh as his coach. But unfortunately for the Titans, Wismer's vision was bigger than his bank account.
He really thought that when we hit New York City, we were going to have an average crowd of 40,000 to 50,000 people. And when that didn't happen, he was on such a short shoestring and a budget that he just couldn't function.
Going to Harry's apartment, and the bedroom was like the ticket office. So there'd be all these thousands of tickets spread out on beds and floors and everything. But that was the office.
How I let him talk me into going up there, I don't know to this day. Biggest mistake I ever made. Worst damn place I ever saw. We used to play there when I was at Washington. That's where the Giants played their game. But it had been run down and it was dirty, and we never worried about the people in the stands because we had them outnumbered and we damn felt safe all the time. We could go up there and whip everybody that's in the game.
The crowd was so small that I was able to go up and shake hands with everyone that was there and congratulate them on coming to the game.
They sat all the fans in one section so that when the television camera was on the fans, it would only be on that group. And they actually played canned applause over the PA system.
I walked into the dressing room and I heard this clanging. I couldn't figure out what in the heck was going on. And I opened the door, and one of the equipment managers was in there, and he had a trash can. And he was beating on the side of this trash can. I asked him, what was he doing? He said he was running the rats out.
Things weren't much better when the Titans went on the road.
They would come out to play you, and they were kind of what you'd call a hot sheet team. That is, they would come into town at 1 o'clock in the morning, check into a motel for a 7 or 8 o'clock game that night, and tell their players, you can sit on the bed, but don't pull back the covers. We got a special rate that they don't have to remake the room, so you can't sleep, but you can sit on the bed.
Paychecks bounced, players washed their own uniforms, and hitchhiked home from practice. Still, the Titans played on. They were 7-7 each of their first 2 seasons. And with receivers Don Maynard and Art Powell, they had one of the AFL's best offenses.
From playing against the Titans, you couldn't tell that they were concerned about the financial problems. They stepped on the field and they tried to hand you your helmet, and they played tough and they played aggressive.
And I think that tells you a lot about the type players that we had, that they would have probably played for nothing because we actually were playing for nothing.
By 1962, the Titans were bankrupt. The AFL owners feared a collapse of the New York franchise might take down the entire league, so they kept the Titans afloat. Finally, a group headed by Sonny Werblin bought the team, renamed it the Jets, and in 1965 signed Joe Namath. 3 years later, in their new Shea Stadium home, the Jets won the AFL championship. Linebacker Larry Grantham was one of 4 ex-Titans still on the roster. Don Maynard was still there as well, and teaming with Namath, he became the most feared deep receiver in football. Maynard, Grantham, Curly Johnson, and Bill Mathis, number 31. All were former Titans who played in the Super Bowl upset of Baltimore. At the final gun, it was Larry Grantham who took off with a game ball, completing the long climb from Coogan's Bluff to the summit of pro football.
It was probably the happiest, most fantastic moment of my life. You know, I got a picture on my wall in my office that it's not in color. It's Larry Grantham in a New York Titan uniform. I look at it every day. There's not any time that goes by in my life that I don't realize where we came from and where we wound up.
Basically, what it means to me, it's an identity. It was a great tribute to the old Titans team, you know, 4 of us, that actually lasted, you know, long enough to win a Super Bowl. I know that we, on that particular day, that we were world champs. We kicked Baltimore's butt. And that makes me wear that with a lot of pride.
In 1964, the Jets moved into the new Shea Stadium Show Palace. And owner Sonny Werblin had secured a budding star to feature on the marquee.
Landing Matt Snell was very significant at the time for the simple reason the Giants wanted Matt Snell terribly.
This really gave us stature, the fact that he did choose to turn his back on the more established league.
I decided that, hey, if you're going to play ball, I want to play right away, and I knew I could do it with the Jets.
When we had our first scrimmage, when we had our first contact, is when everyone realized what we had.
Matt was pure power, yet he had the speed once he got a corner to turn it on.
Snell was even better than advertised, earning Rookie of the Year honors. He was eventually named to 3 AFL Pro Bowls and retired as the Jets' all-time leading rusher. 2 years later, Emerson Boozer joined the Jets' backfield, adding speed and grace to Snell's pulverizing power.
He was as shifty as probably any back that ever played.
I came out with a lot of power, balance, and had deceptive speed. Most teams thought I was pretty slow until I blew past the defensive back, and he can't catch up.
No one could catch Boozer in 1967, when he scored 13 touchdowns in 7 games before suffering a season-ending knee injury. But despite Emerson's offensive explosiveness, he still had one obstacle blocking his success in New York.
I soon found that I could not play in the Jet backfield unless I could block, because you've got a prize QB sitting there.
For Joe Namath, Matt Snell was the ultimate bodyguard.
I pitied the safety coming in, didn't see him, because I know he's going to end up on his back on the ground. Linebacker the same way, on his back.
Emerson and I used to work every day after practice, and he finally got it. Emerson became one of the great blockers in the NFL.
By 1968, Boozer and Snell were the most lethal backfield tandem in the league. But as Super Bowl III approached, they were still considered mere understudies to the AFL's leading man, Broadway Joe.
I guess it was the Thursday before the game, and the papers all came out with a rating.
When the check mark went for running back for the Baltimore Colts over the New York Jets, that was just another incentive for Boozer and Snell.
When I turned the set on and I saw them, I was a madman. Now, I'm not playing. I'm feeling like this. I said, it's over. They're going to whoop them.
Most teams that they had played didn't attack them the way we did. Man on man, strength on strength.
Ain't no use running wide now. We were beating them out with the first half.
That's right. That's a game plan anyway. That's a game plan.
Okay, let's make them change.
Okay, fine.
When Matt was running that 19 straight in the Super Bowl, you know, we all had our blocks up front, but the key block was Boozer had to get on that outside linebacker.
He had one heck of a day blocking that day. He was just exploding into the linebacker, just eradicating this guy. And we kept going.
Hey, if it's working, keep going to it. You know, make them stop us. Make them stop us. Well, Matt Snell kept hitting that left side with Boozer leading the way, and if they don't stop, you just keep on.
The supporting actors commanded center stage. Behind Boozer's blocking, Snell gained 121 yards while chewing up the clock. Namath didn't even have to throw a pass in the fourth quarter.
When it came time to vote for the MVP, Joe Namath, who was the AFL, was preordained as the MVP if the Jets win.
Namath said right after the game his most valuable player choice was Matt Snell.
I guess Sonny felt that I deserved some kind of credit too, so Sonny gave me a mint green Cadillac, the same color as the Jets. So my car ended up being better than what Joe got.